On Wednesday's edition of the Locked On Texans podcast, how can the Houston Texans avoid falling into the trap on Sunday?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to this Wednesday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you to all of our first-time listeners and viewers. If this is your first time, come on in, get comfortable. Please subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And shout out to our everydayers for continuing to come back to listen and support the Locked On Texans podcast. I am your football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman. On the other side of the screen, Texans credentialed media member, Sports Illustrated's home is not here. Cody's not here. The Texans credentialed media member, Big Sarge Brian Bearfield is in the building, of course, holding it down as we continue to talk Texans. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Sarge, we're talking Texans today. What we got?
Yes, sir. And on today's show, we'll be talking about players that benefit from the opportunity of other players being out. If Nico Collins can't go, who's going to step up? And we'll get an early look at the Patriots game. Is it a trap game for the Houston Texans?
And let me just say this so we can dive right into it, because I see the comments all the time. We got a Cowboys fan. We got a Patriots fan hosting the Locked On Texans. I got two things to say to that. Number one is that has nothing to do with what we bring to this show.
Preach.
We are very unbiased. We look at the Texans from a view of being fair, being truthful, and just analyzing what they do and don't do and how they can get to ultimately to the Super Bowl. But number two, this is coming from a Patriots fan. If the Texans lose on Sunday to the Patriots, I'm going to come on this show mad at the Texans, because this should not be a trap game. This should not be a game where the Houston Texans remotely struggle. They're going to be going up against a rookie quarterback with one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL and the skill position group that I don't think has had the opportunity to prove their worth because of the bad quarterback play from Jacoby Brissett, the veteran. You've had a very good run game with the New England Patriots. However, I do believe that with how the interior defensive line players have been playing for Houston, and the fact that I think Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter knows that the worries are starting to get there a little bit. Yes, those pressures matter, especially when you go up against players like a Josh Allen. But this ain't Josh Allen. This ain't even Jacoby Brissett. And I like Drake May a lot. This is coming from a fan perspective, but I really love the D-line for the Houston Texans and the talent on that side, Sarge. So we can look at whether or not this is a trap game or not. I don't think it will be. I think they will find a way to do the same thing that they did against rookie Caleb Williams. They're going to get pressure on him. They're going to make things difficult for him. They're going to disguise coverages to make him overly think. Hopefully he's not seeing ghosts, but if he is, that's a kudos and keys to the Houston Texans defense. And I think we're going to see a great defensive performance from Houston. And this time, with how Houston was able to kind of find more of a groove, I think build a little bit more from Sunday's matchup, they're going to be going up against a defense that has their own problems, right? I don't know if Jabril Peppers, will be playing Sunday. Have a great cornerback in Christian Gonzalez on the other side of the for the Patriots defense. But offensively, they should be able to find a groove. And I do think this will be the first time Houston puts up 30 points this season.
The only problem that I have, John, is what I've seen from the Houston Texans in the first 5 games is the games that we look at and that they should have blown teams out, they played down to their competition. They should have blown out the Chicago Bears. And I know the Bears have a good defense, but the Texans have a better offense. They should have blown out an 0-4 at the time, and now they're 1-4 Jacksonville Jaguars team. Like when you got it, look, when a team is coming down and they're down bad, then you know what you do? You put your foot on their neck and keep going and say, hey, look, this won't be the week that you'll get a win. And you showed them, you convincingly showed them that when y'all come, when we got to come to Jacksonville, we're going to do the exact same thing. We don't want you to have any type of momentum. So I don't like the fact that the Houston Texans played down to the Chicago Bears. They played down to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now you're coming in and you're playing against a New England Patriots team who, yes, we can give them all the accolades for the past glory. But this team,
it's over.
This team just isn't good. And by this team not being good, you can't look past this team and already be thinking about the Green Bay Packers on next Sunday. You can't be thinking about traveling to Lambeau. You have to go into Foxborough. It's still Foxborough, right?
It's still Foxborough. Yeah.
You got to go into Foxborough and you got to take care of business. You have to go in there and show them, all right, listen, we've had these ugly wins in the first 5 games of the season. We've played ugly, right? And now we're about to show the rest of the AFC, because you also have to send a message to the rest of the AFC that, hey, we got it together. We're ready. So I don't want the Houston Texans to fall into that trap of looking past the New England Patriots. And I don't want them playing down to the competition, because nowhere, not in paper football, not in flag football, not in Madden. Let me tell you something, John. If I go to a Pop Warner game and it's the Texans versus the Patriots, I'm still thinking that the Texans Pop Warner team should beat the New England Patriots Pop Warner team.
Hey, CJ Stroud gave a lot of love to Drake May this offseason. Said if you just look at his tape, look at his arm talent, that jumps off the screen. When you watch his tape, he throws guys open. He has the ability to roll out, different arm angles. He really likes Drake May. And so that's encouraging to hear for me, to hear one great quarterback talk about a young quarterback coming into this league. But the fact
quarterback speak?
I'm sorry?
You mean quarterback speak? I'm sorry. I like to hear quarterback speak too.
I like to. Okay, whatever. But this is why I believe Houston should be heavily favored in this game. I think we may see another Kamari Lassiter interception this week, because I think his physicality may really do damage against those receivers for the Patriots. That's number one. And over there in New England, they go up against good corners over there. I mean, they got Gunzo, they got my man Jones on the other side. But when you go up against a physical corner like Kamari Lassiter, and sometimes that works in his favor, sometimes it doesn't. But I think for Houston this upcoming Sunday it will. And I think offensively for the Patriots, they have the worst tackle unit in the NFL. And so we talk about Danielle Hunter being quiet the last couple of games. We talk about Will Anderson not necessarily getting those sacks like we want to see both him and Hunter get for the last couple of games. I think that changes Sunday. I really do. This is just an all-around weak matchup for the Texans, and they check off everything in favor for them to pull out their win. And, oh, yeah, by the way, while the Patriots do have good corners, you can run on them a little bit.
Yeah.
You can run them on a little bit. And I think for CJ Stroud, this will be one of those games where he could potentially lead this game without as many hits. He should be able to sit in that pocket comfortably, and he should be able to find guys and throw them open, because this ain't, while it's a respectable defense, this offense in Houston should be able to wear them down. By the time it gets to the second half, they should be clicking on all cylinders. We shouldn't see 17 points in the first half and 6 points in the second half. That should not be the case Sunday.
John, if I'm not mistaken, the Patriots have wide receiver Jalen Polk, right? The rookie out of Tennessee. Yes. He's out of Tennessee, correct?
Out of Washington.
I'm sorry. I said Tennessee. Out of Washington. There was another Jalen, though, that came out of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken.
Jalen Hyatt last year for the
okay, so that's where I got it confused. So Jalen Polk, and that's a young man with a lot of potential, and I'm looking to see that matchup, like you said, between him and Kamari Lassiter, because I don't think that they're going to, put him over on the same side with Derek Stingley, because they know that that's a loss. When you're going rookie versus rookie, you may still be able to use some of your college, your college moves against a college player. You're both in the NFL now, of course, but you may be able to get away with some of those things. But you put him over there, you put Polk over there with Derek Stingley, you might as well say we're just going to go to the left side all day long as far as passing is concerned, because you're not going to get anything off on Derek Stingley. So I'm just interested to see what the New England Patriots are going to do and how they're going to try to do this. And you have a first-year head coach who let me put it like this real quick,
He's
John.
struggling.
He's struggling, and unlike when D'Amico got hired here in Houston, unlike D'Amico, I don't think he has a long time to get it together. Even though they don't have the necessary players to push themselves back up to the AFC, the top of the AFC East, like they used to dominate. Even though they don't have the necessary players to do that, they don't have the necessary talent. I don't think he has a long time. And starting to look, I put it like this: starting a rookie quarterback already, it's almost like they giving up on the season to me.
And doing it against the Texans, I don't think is a good idea. Before we move forward and talk about who steps up for Nico, if he can't go, I do want to let you guys know the Patriots are allowing right now 357 passing yards per game, total yards per game, and passing yards per game. The Patriots are allowing 239. The Texans have the number 4 passing offense in the NFL. So that just screams, don't force it. 276. So that's well above over what the Patriots are allowing, and they are one of the worst in the league. The Texans should win this game comfortably, and that's coming from a guy that covers the Texans, love what they've been able to do as a franchise, respects them as a franchise, and a fan of the Patriots. I'm saying right now, if the Patriots win that game on Sunday, I will be pissed at the Texans simply because this is your year, and you got to handle teams as such when they're not as good as they want to be.
And Big Sarge will be in the building. He will be at Foxborough on Sunday.
I'm jealous.
I'll see you a picture.
Well, thank you. But this is also the perfect time to tell you guys about Prize Picks. If you want to get in on the action, on the more or less action that Prize Picks is giving, it's the perfect time to do so right now. The best place to get real money on sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has really made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the action on sports in over 30 states, including Cali, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Real money is given out every day on the daily fantasy platform, with an injury insurance policy. So your lineup stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup alive. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's just guaranteed. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineup. So once again, download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 off instantly, or to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL to receive a $50 bonus instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Big Sarge, right now, it's not looking too good for Nico Collins. And let's just say this, Dameon Pierce has been out with a hamstring injury. He's missed the last several weeks. Now there's a hamstring concern with Nico Collins. He pulled up on that 67-yard bomb. So if Nico can't go, and I just want to say that D'Amico Ryans was asked about him. He said he's in good spirits. With the hamstring, it takes a couple of weeks for hamstrings. So we'll evaluate on a week-to-week basis. But if Nico can't go, who steps up in this place?
Well, John, I'm going to say this. I know that I said that I don't want the Houston Texans looking past the New England Patriots coming up this Sunday and make it a trap game. I don't want them to get caught up in looking past them and looking towards the Green Bay Packers on that next Sunday. But If you have to, this is the time to do it. This is
Sit
the
him.
time to do it. Even if, listen, even if he says that he's good to go, I'm still sitting Nico Collins, especially going up against a team like the Patriots on this past Sunday after the Buffalo Bills game. Stephon Diggs said we have enough depth to be able to for players to step up and take Nico's place until he's able to get healthy and come back. And now it's time for guys to step up. And one of the guys that I think that's going to step up on Sunday, if Nico isn't fully healthy and ready to go, is wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson, someone that we have been looking at since training camp, someone who told me when I interviewed him after training camp practice, the very first training camp practice, one person who told me that he said, Sarge, this year, I'm ready. I'm ready. I've been in my playbook. I've been doing my conditioning. This year, I don't come out. I don't have that rookie mindset of still trying to learn. I already know this is my second year in this offensive system, and I'm ready to go. And you're talking about a guy who has always had to overcome some different type of adversity in his life. Not the best high school student as far as academics is concerned, but was always an athlete as far as football and basketball was concerned. And so because of him not being very good at academic wise, he had to start off at junior college. So he went to Blinn Junior College right here in Texas, and he balled out.
Blinn be putting them in the league, man.
For sure, for sure. Left Blinn, went to Iowa State, right? Went to Iowa State, 3-time first team All Big 12, Big 12 Offensive Newcomer of the Year, first team All American in 2022. And his last season at Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson had 107 yards receiving for 1,171 yards. He's a big wide receiver. He sits next to Nico Collins in the during the team meetings as far as the offense is concerned, in the wide receiver room, and when they're going over the offense. He sits right next to Nico Collins because although he's not as tall and not as stout as Nico, he's still a big wide receiver. And when you take Nico out of the game at 6'4" and put in Xavier Hutchinson at 6'2", that still gives CJ Stroud that big catch radius and that big wide receiver, that big target that he always looks for when he has to scramble out. When he scrambles out, the first person that he can always look for is number 12. Well, this week against the Patriots, he'll be able to scramble out, and number 19 should be somewhere. I think that the only thing that has been missing for Xavier Hutchinson is the fact that he hasn't gotten a lot of reps. And when he is in the game, it's either for like a jet sweep or he has to block or he's a decoy. The play isn't going to him. Well, now, with Nico out, you put him right in the game. And I think that we'll see, if anything, this is the game to see what they have in a player like Xavier Hutchinson. So I'm thinking that if Nico is out, X is going to step right in and continue. And X is going to step in and the offense is still going to continue to go.
For those of you guys that are going to come to the comment section and ask us, well, what about John Mechie?
Yeah.
Right now, we got to be real about it. I don't know what it is, Sarge. You may be able to, explain a little bit more or maybe a deeper dive into it. But, when Nico went down, we saw Xavier Hutchinson play in about roughly 40% of the offensive snaps, maybe more than that. For John Mechie, he only played in 3 snaps for the Houston Texans. So there's clearly a trust factor there. There's clearly something that one player does that the other one isn't. It could be something else going on. But a player that I want to point to that I think should be like the immediate player to step up is Tank Dell.
Yeah.
And there's no way around it. I mean, after Sunday's matchup, I talked to him very briefly, and I do mean very briefly. And I asked him about, how did he believe his role adjusted after Nico Collins went down? And he said, it didn't adjust. And I thought that was a problem. Not for him. Like, of course, he wants that adjustment, and I'm sure he wants those adjustments while Nico is in the game. But I thought the issue was, hey, okay, Nico's out. This guy last year had how many games with over 100 yards? Had game-winning touchdowns for you, right? We know that they were playing the Buffalo Bills. You want to make sure that Stephon Diggs get the opportunity to kind of shine on his old team, and he did. And he gave Josh Allen that mean side eye that, you in trouble. But I thought it was I thought it was egregious that we didn't see more Tank Dell.
Yeah, and John, that's what I'm writing down right now because that just popped into my head. Listen, this Sunday, I think that the Houston Texans should do something that they don't normally do, and something that CJ Stroud doesn't like to do. But I think this time you have to do it if you want to continue to get this offense going and make it better. You got to force the ball to Tank Dell this week.
You got to. That was
You
a play
have
Sunday.
to.
CJ could have tucked it and ran,
Yeah.
but Tank was right in front of him. And I love the fact that he just dumped it off to get him going.
Yes.
And then on one of the other plays was a pitch and catch. The safety was on Tank, and he ran like a deep crossing route to the other side of the field. And it was a beautiful throw, easy catch for Tank Dell. Like, you got to find a way to get him going that does not put a limitation on his game.
And you know what,
It's been
John?
bothering me. It's really been bothering me that you have such an explosive player, and I do mean explosive, who can create their separation, who I think is maybe the perfect receiver to match up with Gunzo. You gotta get him the ball, and it shouldn't be considered a force. Honestly, it should be considered, hey, you know what? He's open. Let's get him. Let's draw up ways to get him involved without jet sweeps or without the trick plays and double reverses and on side of the road. Cut it out.
But John,
he's a bona fide receiver. Yes,
sometimes that's not easy to do only because CJ is under a lot of pressure. So if Titus Howard comes back this week, and Blake Fisher gets to go back to the sideline and hold his helmet and watch from the sideline, then I think that maybe you'll get a little bit. That CJ will get a little bit more time, and he does. And CJ does well when he's blitzed. CJ does well when he's under pressure. But sometimes if you let him sit in the pocket for just a tad bit longer, then he can see. Sometimes he's pressured so much that he has to get out, and he got to throw to the first person he sees. Hey, look, you got to throw to the first person he sees. And for as much as we've talked about Bobby Slowick and the offense, I went back and I looked at a couple of games. There's a lot of times that these wide receivers are open. I'm saying, like, these are some long developing plays, but in those plays, there are a lot of wide receivers that are open. John, I'm going to take you back to one play, and people are going to focus on this one play because it was so explosive. And you talked about it earlier, the pass, the 67-yard touchdown pass to Nico Collins, right? Beautiful throw by CJ Stroud. Beautiful recognition by CJ Stroud. Oh, Nico has blew past both of the defenders. He's open. I'm going to get him the ball. But let's just say, for the sake of talking right now, if that safety drops back a little bit more onto Nico and CJ doesn't feel comfortable making that play, go back, stop the play, John, and look who's coming open, wide open underneath that would have been able to catch the ball. He was like 15 yards down. He probably could have got at least another 10 yards out of that. Tank Dell is wide open underneath. And so like I said, we give Bobby a lot of flack for him calling up some of these long drawn out plays or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of times that these players are open. CJ made the right decision by going to Nico because Nico, that's an explosive play. You don't get a lot of those. He doesn't get a lot of explosive plays throughout a game. Nico's open. But when they go back and they run that same play, you may be able to run that same play this week with Stephon Diggs. And then here comes Tank. And now if Stephon Diggs is running that and Tank is coming underneath, you don't have that over the top, bam.
I'm gonna challenge that by saying I think the role should be reversed. I think it should be Tank going deep. I don't think Stephon is a deep factor no more. I think the best version of Stephon that you get right now is everything. I mean, 20 yards is deep, but 20 and under is where you can really get the best version of Stephon. And I think right now, because of the explosiveness from Tank, and I think he may be a little bit quicker than Stephon right now, he should be one of those more explosive plays, 25-plus yard plays for the Houston Texans this week.
John, I'm not saying that he's I'll put it like this. At 52 years old, going on 53, I think that I have about at least 3 more full speed runs left in me. Like, I think I can run full speed about 3 more times for the rest of my lifetime. And so You ain't got to run him like that all the time. But you look at Stephon Diggs, he still has some speed, and he's still a threat.
Okay.
So you don't have to do it all the time. But, I mean, maybe you
I
can use
see
one
that.
of those.
I will say I think Dalton Schultz absolutely needs to be more involved in the game plan this week. And in the second half, he came through clutch for the Houston Texans. But this is a great time to tell you guys about Hillsdale College. They are offering 40 free online courses, free, by the way, including a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism and communism, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, and more. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with reading, quizzes, discussions, or you can just sit back and enjoy the lectures. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. And also, guys, this is a time to tell you about FanDuel. They hooking you up, right? They're hooking you up. They've been hooking you up all summer long, and the trend continues. When you get that hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play, and you can do so much more on the same place where you place your bets. Go ahead and visit FanDuel.com, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. They're giving you guys money. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with just a first $5 bet. So again, visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com.
And welcome back to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Texans podcast. John, we talked about injuries earlier, and we talked about Nico Collins maybe potentially missing this game with a hamstring injury. When we look at this Houston Texans team, there's a lot of players, though, that have benefited from other players being injured. Now, we don't want to say that we wish injury on anyone. We do not. Here at the Locked On Texans podcast, we do not wish injury on anyone. But if it happens, you got to have that next man up mentality. And John, who has had that next man up mentality for you?
Henry To'oTo'o. I mean, there's no way around it. I think Henry T has done a very good job of all summer. I'm gonna keep it quick. All summer, slimming up, being on the hip of Aziz. And you guys, I can't wait for you guys to hear what Will Anderson has said about Aziz. He's been everybody's unsung hero. But right under Aziz, you got to shine light on Henry T because he's had some very good moments for the Houston Texans. And again, in year two under the D'Amico Ryan scheme and playing alongside Aziz Alshire, you're seeing Henry T just be much better in pass coverage. So I think he's been one of those players who has benefited the most from the opportunity of guys being out.
And for me, it's running back / place kicker Dare Ugumawale, who has stepped up in the absence of starter Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce, backup Dameon Pierce. He's just come in and Dare is one of those guys that whatever you need him to do, you need him to kick a field goal, kick a field goal, extra point, special teams, third down back. Sometimes Dare may not even get in the game on any offensive series. And after the game, he's just as happy as if they win the game, especially, he's just as happy as if he played the entire game. But what Dare Ugumawale has done in the absence of Mixon and Pierce has been great. He's been that safety net, that safety blanket for CJ when he gets in trouble. Hey, look, we're up. There's Dare. Dare is going to always be there. Now, I would love to see him run the ball a little bit better, but that means that the offensive line has to do a better job of run blocking as well. But Dare Ugumawale has really stepped up in his role as far as the injuries are concerned in their absences.
He absolutely has. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. We need more tank. We need more tank. But please make sure that you continue to follow, like, subscribe to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Give me a follow on Twitter at John_Hickman12.
And you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter. That's also for Xavier Hutchinson this week. At Big Star Sports with the Z at the end.
I just throw up the X. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.